Thank you very much for all coming in. And I came from California, and we were talking about the AB5. Our Congress members are actually from California. We've been doing whatever we can because we sent a letter out to Governor Newsom to declare the state of emergency and bypass the AB5 so we can, so we can actually bring the independent truckers coming in, and we can just relieve a little bit of our supply chain crisis. And then port, we have about 40% of merchandise is coming through LA and Long Beach port. So it's a really big problem. But on the top of the gas price and inflation and shortage of workers, and then our California Trucking Association actually challenged AB5 case, and Supreme Court refused to hear that. So all these problems that, whatever on our side, we are doing whatever we can, but what's next that, you want to discuss a little more about it, that what we can do to work together to make sure that trucking industries, if Governor Newsom is not really moving forward to declare the state of emergency, that what can we really do to work together with the Trucking Association? Mr. Summerford.
In my opinion, in regard to AB5, there will be companies that will take the risk and say, well, you know what, we'll run as own operators until somebody decides to enforce AB5. My opinion is that I'm not willing to take that risk because of the backlash from it. So I think at the end of the day, we need to make sure that the state of California with the AB5 revisit that and maybe adjust it accordingly and use a more realistic threshold to determine an independent contractor versus an employee. To me, that's the most sustainable way to do it. But it's a very serious problem. It's going to be a very serious problem in the ports.
It is a serious problem because it caused all these supply chain crises. And then having said that, Ms. Borstling, if I pronounce it wrong, then
no, you got it.
Could you share about the economic policies making things more difficult and expensive for manufacturers and businesses? There are ways to improve a backlog of supply chain crisis. Do you have any thing that we can, I've been always asking that we can work together.
Sure. Well, I'll just focus on supply chain and then the transportation side of it, because supply chain means lots of different things to different people depending on the situation. I think in the transportation side, this West Coast ports situation with a labor uncertainty is really challenging. And for those who are plant managers, supply chain leaders within the manufacturing sector, the West Coast ports are creating a situation where they don't know if they can be relied upon, because you have these long backlogs of many ships and waiting to be processed. Then you have the labor uncertainty. Yes, they're still at the table. That's great. We support that. But they need to have a contract extension if they're not going to come to an agreement very soon. Manufacturers really need that certainty. So to risk $500 million a day if there's a stoppage, a slowdown, is just too much to undertake. So we really are encouraging both sides to get to an agreement soon because we can't afford this kind of uncertainty at this juncture in time. I think solving some of the driver shortage issues is certainly important to the supply chain. Unfortunately, there's some uncertainty with the Class I railroads right now, so we need the president to form a presidential emergency board with the right kinds of people serving in the capacity to be impartial and experienced advisors to really move the needle forward on the negotiation with the Class I railroads and their unions. So I think there's all these different pieces within the transportation sector where the administration, Congress, state and local officials all have to be working together, because this is about our national competitiveness. Manufacturing is a critical sector to this economy with economic security interests at stake. Everything has to be right. And so when I gave my Jenga analogy earlier, it's just, we can build lots of things here in this country, and we have the capabilities. I think everyone comes to the job here wanting to do the right things. let's make it easy.